Hello, everyone, and welcome to a very special episode of Deckbuilding Derezzed. On tonight's episode, I'm joined by Dean.
Hey everyone.
He was the third seed after the preliminaries at Worlds and ended up finishing ninth overall. And tonight we're going to be talking about his Titan transnational deck called the Twins Effect. Dean, you want to explain a little bit about what the kind of idea behind this deck and what was kind of the cornerstone thought process?
Yeah, sure. So, kind of just since we're in the off season, off after Worlds, this deck was something I piloted back when people were trying to still get a grip on Titan. I still don't think we've landed where Titan can be in terms of deck wise, but came into Store Championship and landed fourth with this. The idea behind the deck is using the kind of classic Wayland idea is I'm going to rush out and try to score fast, and if you try to contest me, then there's a way I can kind of stop you or hurt you, right? So I opted to go with some Grail Ice inside this deck, which also works with one of the cards that we had from Order and Chaos called the Twins. And the idea, it's an upgrade where whenever the runner passes a res piece of ice protecting the server, you can reveal and trash another copy of that ice to force him to encounter the piece of ice just again. And the reason why it works so great with the Grail Ice is in circumstances where, let's just say, you meet a hit into Lancelot and you have two Merlins in your hand, and you also have another Lancelot in your hand, you can res the twins before they encounter it. You show the two Merlin subroutines, they'll have to try beat the subroutines, and then you can trash the Lancelot from your hand, and then force them to see two more Merlins. And the way the ice on the Grail Ice is worded is that they gain the subroutines of the real dice. For the remainder of the run, they retain the subroutines. So if you're able to continuously show them the ice and trash it again, they'll eventually get to a point where they won't have enough money to break all the subroutines on it.
Right. And so you can keep pitching the copies because they've already done their work. They've already granted you the subroutines.
Yeah. So one of the tricky things also too that you do with it is with Corporate Troubleshooter, the strength of the ice also stays until the end of the turn. So in instances where it may be
that's awful. That's
yeah.
awful.
Yeah. And then the last tricky thing that you can do that I was able to do against a player was that I had two Lancelots in hands. I boosted with the Corporate Troubleshooter. He encountered it, broke it. Showed him, trashed it, showed two more Merlins, matched the strength up again, broke it, trashed Lancelot, showed him Merlins. Now it has six subroutines plus the one from Lancelot, so that's 7 subroutines. Trashed Lancelot, he beat the subroutines, beated it. Once he did that, I res Jackson, shuffled Lancelot, and some other card into the deck, used an Atlas counter to pull Lancelot back to my hand, and then showed it into him again.
That's so awful.
Yeah.
Okay, so it's definitely a deck that I would say requires some expert piloting. You have to know what you're capable of and keep track of what you're able to do and whether or not it's worth kind of setting the tools into motion. So let's go through the deck and talk about the card choices that you made. Why don't we start with the agenda suite?
Mm-hmm.
So you're running 9 total agendas, which is a pretty low agenda density for Wayland. Give me some of the mindset behind that.
Sure. So being in Titan, I think the automatic include that you always put inside this is Project Atlas, being that it's an upper advanced card that allows you, so with Titan's ability, it once you score it, even without over advancing it, you'll automatically get a power counter on it. Sorry, not a power, agenda counter. And that'll allow you to search your deck for key pieces in your deck that you may need to accelerate your game plan. If you over advance, even better, then you have more counters on it. The next card that I chose to put inside there was High Risk Investment, being that's a bit of a rush deck, being able to score out a 5 for 3, that then gets 2 counters to be able to match money. That's important because if you do want to play the game where you want to be able to get the kill turn, Corporate Troubleshooter dumping money into doing that, it's quite a bit, and sometimes people will save up money such as like prepaid cake to try to snipe your remote, right?
Right.
The next card, of course, was Hostile Takeover. To try to close out games. Those two are there mainly just if you get 6 points, try to close out with the final hostile. And then the final agenda I put in there at that time, which was nothing else that kind of made sense, was priority requisition. This is kind of homage to an older Wayland deck I used to play, of course, at Wayland. I found that a lot of times if I were able to res Archer for free, that allowed me to be able to just get away, get the game ending a lot faster without sacrificing hostiles.
Right. Okay. So, yeah, I mean, I can definitely see that, and high risk investment is definitely a much better value when you're playing Titan. And Atlas counters, as you were saying, are just incredibly powerful in this game, and getting one without having to telegraph it's an agenda is great.
Yeah.
So, obviously, Jackson Howard is in here for the same reason that Jackson Howard is in all decks.
Yeah, pretty much.
So you have a 2 of corporate troubleshooter.
3 of.
Why just the 2?
3.
Oh, I'm sorry, there's 3. Yeah,
So,
okay.
3 of course, make the plan consistent. Just being able to make that server. Also, sometimes they might try to go maybe like, oh, okay, the remote's like impossible, or I just might die on it. You also want to set up another trap server, which could be also on R&D. So it's about, or based on like the faction you're playing against, right? So no matter the case, you got to be able to tech against the faction that might be most dangerous. It's Criminal HQ, Shaper R&D, Anarch everywhere. That's pretty much the idea as to why that has a 3 copy.
So with corporate troubleshooter, is there an instance where you would pop this when you're not going to get the kill? Would you use it to get program trashes, or is it really you're saving it for the kill?
You can use it for program trash, of course. If you see that there's an opportunity for you to like close out the programs and open up a huge scoring window, or even just like a minor one, which maybe could close you out the game or get you an agenda that's extremely important, then I would do it.
Okay. So you've got 2 of Chrysium grids. Explain why these are added in.
So in that time in the meta, and it's coming back again, it was kind of funny, it was a Keyhole Eater meta. So a lot of people were playing Keyhole. It was also Stealth Andy at the time, which was playing a lot of Stealth Breakers and into Siphon. So just being able to slow down their ability to be able to do that was pretty important.
Okay, and why would you say that this is now coming back? Because of like Apocalypse and stuff?
Apocalypse, we have Keyhole, we have even Maker's Eyes. You can cipher that. You can cipher out some legwork. So it's just like all around good utility for that card. So having Crystal's not too bad of an idea.
Okay. So we have 2x of the twins. This is the one where I was thinking 2 of. You talked about how integral this is to kind of your game plan. Why 2 of as opposed to a 3 of?
2 of just because it's. I always felt when I was playtesting it, the third one was kind of sitting dead to me, and I didn't need it. Although coming back and forth to it again, with maybe the deck changes we do tonight to it, we might be able to open the slot for the third one.
Okay. All right, so you've got 1 archive memories. What's kind of the high priority targets for this?
Just like the final pieces. Like it's a bit of a 3-card combo. So sometimes if you have the twins, but you don't have the corporate troubleshooter, get the corporate troubleshooter. If you have the corporate troubleshooter, but you don't have the twins, get the twins. So it's either or. Or even if you just need a quick economy boost, just being able to grab an economy card is pretty important. So that's what I thought. But
yeah, and also if corporate troubleshooter or twins gets trashed off R&D early, things of that nature.
Mm-hmm.
So we've got money. Titan is pretty good at having money, so you got the beanstalks, the hedge funds, and the restructures. Not a huge surprise there. 2x interns, I guess, really filling the same role as archive memories, but just without costing influence.
Yeah, you got it.
All right, so we do have the full. Grail suite, which includes the Galahad, which is the barrier, which has the 2 proc from HQ. We have Merlin, which is the code gate, which does the 2 net damage and has a strength of 4. And then we have Lancelot, which is the 2 strength sentry that has the trash 1 program. As far as other ice choices, I have to say this looks very just kind of rushy.
Yes, it is a bit of a rush deck, and just because of the way Titan's ability works is that if you can rush it on Atlas, you can get your pieces a lot faster. So this is not a deck that's built to last in the mid-late game. You do want to kind of work with the ID, which is allowing you to rush a bit faster and get your game plan a little bit faster than the runner. And the success that I found a lot of times playing with Wayland was that keeping runners off their game plan, keeping them off what they're comfortable with, and getting them into danger zone for them not to be able to calculate and consider these kind of dangerous options.
Yeah, the danger zone, you say.
Yeah.
So, how often does Archer help you close games in this?
Archer's always historically helped me close a lot of games just based on like the utility of what it is. It might not be as strong nowadays just because of like David, but for like the first hit, but I certainly like it as like if they try to David, you can then twins up this another Archer and force him to get back into it. But that's once they pass it, right? If they choose a David and just let the ETR fire, then that also doesn't work.
But that's still great because it still chews up an entire David.
Yeah.
All right, so you've got a one of Excalibur.
hmm
Is this you? Imagine this is usually going on whichever central you think they're going to target the most.
Yeah, so it's just like just something to kind of keep them off balance. Or sometimes if like I know I can fire off like a really good grail hit, and sometimes I might even just keep it in hand. But yeah, that was like that's a flex thought really. I liked it sometimes against some people who were trying to do some shenanigans. It can be a different piece of ice at this point.
Right, and if you think about certain runners, maybe people who are going for emergency shutdown plays or other things, if you can get this to land either off another piece of Grail ice or just itself, and they can't break it, you could shut down a lot of people who need to run multiple servers in a turn.
Yeah. Oh, also, so now that reminds me, this card was specifically a meta call against criminal, just because to kind of stop like, as you mentioned, like the siphon into check on the remote. This was the card for like self Andy.
Right, especially since up until recently, with the advent of Faust, criminals were almost never running any AI breaker capable of breaking this.
You got it.
All right, so you said that this is kind of a relic of something that you had played previously. If you were gonna let's get the edit up. If we were gonna update this for modern times, what changes do you think you would make to the deck?
So obviously being a great agenda nowadays, as much as I love Pyrrhec, I think having four three pointers are pretty dangerous. I would want to put two GFI in this deck.
Yeah,
This has to,
I hear Global Food's pretty good.
yeah, Global Food's been doing a lot in the meta recently. So
Oh, but that puts us over influence.
yeah. So the considerations for cutting influence was either cutting Galahad or cutting archive memories. And archive memories we can opt to put another influence if we have to, because we can just do influence less and just spend more clicks for it.
Right.
So that was a consideration I would make.
Okay.
Um, Now the other thing is that historically Wayland's always had an issue with making running the remote attractive. So what I would consider possibly removing in this case is putting some public supports in to also feed into Archer.
Okay. So for
So
those of you who don't know, public support is the asset that when you res it, it starts counting down from three counters, and then when it has zero counters, it becomes a 1 point agenda. It's added, so it doesn't trigger any score effects, but it does give you a 1 point agenda for triggering Archer.
so public support is probably I would cut the beanstalks, I would think, to
For
put
two
into
of
public
those.
support. Yeah. Because the problem I found historically is people just didn't want to run the remote, and if they're not going to run the remote, I need to be able to get something off of it. Then,
Right. Uh, in case you can't score out. And if they don't run it, it gives you another way to also threaten the close of game on your
yeah,
next score.
yeah.
Okay, so we're currently at 48 cards and 17 influence. We have we have 19 pieces of ice.
hmm Um, I don't. The ice I'd like to update. Just I'm trying to think here what's been given to us in the Sand Sun cycle. Let's take a look here. Ice wise, I know Miramati was one of them, which was a good consideration to look at. So let's take a look here. Off what you can see. What do you suggest ice wise? Whaling or neutral?
Well, let's take a look. Neutral, and we'll do some ice. Um, I mean, I don't think we're ever gonna have the money for an assassin, obviously. I think Miramatu, since we're not ever really advancing anything, Miramatu is going to be a probably a better gear check than Ice Wall, but it only has that gear check ability on HQ, which this deck is all about rushing out behind in a remote.
Mhm.
What else is new?
The spider web, which is a little bit more costly. And also idea was putting in capital investors. I don't know if that's also something economy versus like restructure.
Well, that would certainly allow us to have more long distance economy. And if that goes into the scoring remote while we're waiting for an agenda, they need to run it.
Hmm. So that's an idea that we can update and put that in.
Yeah. Uh, cut all three and put in three capital investors.
Um, I wouldn't say. Okay, let's start with that. Let's see. We can start trimming and going back and forth as we need to.
All right, we're still down one card slot.
I think I would remove Excalibur at this point. Like, I don't. With Faust everywhere in the meta, that doesn't make sense anymore.
Okay, so now we've got two slots for some money potential.
Well, I'd like the ice to be 17 at minimum, so we'll put the ice at 17, but we still gotta figure out the whale and
Well,
ice.
we're at 18 currently.
Oh, Miramati? Or 18 ice? Oh,
Yeah,
sorry. Oh, sorry. What am I saying? The
you want
math
to
is
be at
off.
19 ice.
Okay, I guess 18 ice is actually not bad. 18 ice is not bad, but the worrisome part is Archer being just that's the ice. Because sometimes you see that card and you're like, I can't resist.
Right.
Hmm. No. What else could we put in ice wise? Let's think for a moment. Let's jump into the thick tech.
Well, we definitely don't want tour guide.
No, that's doing nothing.
I mean, Spiderweb's a possibility. It's certainly a good tax in the early game.
Hmm.
I mean, it kind of folds apart to Anarchs, especially.
Yeah, that's a parasite.
Yeah.
Let's see. Was there? Oh, what was the? There's a bear that turns into a sentry. It was changeling, was it?
Yeah, that's Changeling.
I'm just wondering about if there's
It's
enough
it,
blue
it
chips.
it's basically a bastion that you can make into a sentry.
Hmm. Quite costly though.
Yeah, it's 5 creds.
What could we get? And we said assassin doesn't make sense, eh?
Yeah, I mean, Assassin we're gonna get good value. It's just expensive.
Mm-hmm.
I mean,
Mm,
it does give us an. We'd have, the problem. Well, not the problem, but one of the cornerstones of this deck is whatever we are running, we want to be running multiple copies of anything that does damage so that we can trigger the twins.
yeah. Okay. Let's see. Hmm. Okay. So how about this? Will ice wall will change to say maybe 2 copies, and then we'll put one mirror body.
Yeah, I think that's right. Because we're never looking for multiple copies of either one of those pieces of ice.
Right. We could also certainly go ice wall, one ice wall, and even just do a spider web as you mentioned.
Yeah,
So
so we'll
then
put one in.
oh,
All
and
right.
then code gates is where I want to kind of look at expand.
Okay. What do we have as far as new code gates? Not much. They don't really get a lot of code gate love in Wayland.
Hmm.
The only thing really is like Wormhole, but Wormhole was already out.
Yeah.
Um. Hmm. Trying to think.
Yeah, it's a struggle sometimes when you look at ice and you don't have the booths and toll booths and all the fancy ice that are really nice.
Yeah, I mean that's the price you pay for the Grail Suite.
Hmm. Let's see, what was neutral inside that Destiny? Just assassin, that's the only thing. Wow.
Yeah, there it wasn't really chock full of nuts.
Let's see, Order and Chaos. See what they got in there. Should have been the Wayland either way. That was the astronomy ice first. Constellation.
Yeah,
Wherever you
space ice, whatever.
go.
I do like the wormhole art. Wormhole is one of my favorite pieces of like abstract Netrunner art.
hmm Okay. I mean, I guess we're stuck as it is having this. We could do maybe 1x Quandary?
Just as a gear check.
Yeah. Or, you know what? I think I'd be better invested inside a Sentry here, actually.
So
Uh,
do we want to add the one of assassin just as the gotcha?
we certainly give it a shot. Although, I was wondering about the money that we would have in this to do it. I want something a
Yeah.
little bit cheaper. Maybe we just put Caduceus. Caduceus seems not too bad.
Yeah. All right. So that puts us up to 19 ice.
Okay.
And then that leaves us with 1 card slot remaining.
Well, we talked about it. We can make the Twins 3x.
I think, honestly, this deck needs a little bit more money. Would you consider going down to 2 capital investors and putting 2 restructures back in?
We can certainly try that out, yeah. And 2 restructures.
And then that puts us at 49.
All right, we can give this a shot.
Yeah, so everybody, if you want to join us for the next video, we're going to give this deck a test on Jinteki and see how we do. Dean, thank you very much for joining me.
Yeah.
And everybody, we'll see you on the next episode. Catch
Sounds
you next
good.
time.
See you next time.